CCP's Deception of the World. Hello everyone, it's Michael here. After the victorious war, Chiang's reputation was at its peak, and on December 3rd, 1945, a huge standard portrait of Chiang first appeared in Tiananmen Tower. This is a photo of him in military attire after he was elected president of the national government in 1944. This huge photo was not hung on the wall of the largest gate in the middle of the city tower, but directly on top of the tower, with the top reaching to the second floor, and a plaque inscribed by the father of the nation with the words, "The world is public," hanging above the tower. Later the communists subverted and stole the mainland regime by dastardly means. The national government was defeated and then moved to Taiwan, and the standard statue of Generalissimo Chiang was shipped to Taiwan. The portraits of the Communist Party leaders who took over the country began to hang on Tiananmen Tower. Today, compared with the great Sun Yat-sen and Chiang Kai-shek, those who are murderous, lascivious, and corrupt ride on people's heads as the leader of the thieving party. What big face hangs on Tiananmen Gate Tower to play hero? On January 23, 1949, the Communist Army marched into Beiping to take over the defense of the surrendered General Fu Zuoyi. The 8-character slogan, "Promote civil rights, implement constitutional government," left on the wall of the city government, had not yet been taken down, but the portrait of Chiang Kai-shek had disappeared. 6 months later, the Communists shamelessly organized the 13th anniversary of the July 7th War of Resistance against Japan in Tiananmen Square. The CCP used the main forces of the Nationalist Army to snipe Japan's army in the frontal battlefield to occupy China, while Mao and the CCP ordered the Communist Army to take the national government's military salary to build bases everywhere, harassing the Nationalist Army, killing people with knives, build strength, and finally incite success of subversion. In this way, although the CCP did not do much in resisting Japan, they made up a victorious posture, smiling wickedly to open a conference to commemorate the war. The funny thing is that the thieves' CCP official propaganda also hung a red heart in the middle of Tiananmen Tower, with the thieves' hearts flanked by the portraits of Zhu De and Old Mao respectively. However, in less than 3 months before October 1st that year, the old jewel was invited off the red wall and replaced by Old Mao. At the start of our story we mentioned that there were several more people who had been hung on the wall, including Zhou Enlai, Liu Shaoqi, Ren Bishi, Lin Biao, Nie Rongjin, Ye Jinying, etc. Another was the man Stalin, the father of the Russian Communist Party, who died of a stroke on March 5, 1953, due to excessive indulgence. How did it happen? Before his death, the old Stalin and several heads of the Soviet Communist Party, Beria, Malenkov, Khrushchev, Bulganin, in his own private dacha banquet, and became drunk before returning home at 4 o'clock in the next morning. The next day no one saw him leave, but the guards did not dare trespass into his bedroom in fear of getting shot. 10 hours passed before finally being sent to the doctor, but they were unable to revive him. Originally the Soviet Union was less a tyrant, the world less a scourge, which was a good thing. However, the CCP's godchildren were crying after his death, and then, in Tiananmen Square, were mourning this evil person. A meeting was held to ring the funeral bell, and the picture of Mao was temporarily pulled down and replaced with the picture of Stalin, and forced Chinese people to bow 3 times and cry for his Russian father. In this way, the Chinese imperial city on the main gate for the first and last time hung a foreign tyrant photo. Although only for 1 day, it was also a great shame for the Chinese people. What many of you may not know is that Chiang Kai-shek is the only Chinese figure to have appeared on the cover of Time magazine 10 times. Let's mention this glory again. Time magazine, founded in March 1923, is recognized as the media representing the voice of mainstream society in the United States and the West as a whole. The founder, Henry Luce, was born in 1898 in Shandong, China. His father was a Christian missionary sent to China. Henry returned to the United States at the age of 14, and after graduating from Yale University, founded Time magazine, which quickly became one of the 3 major current affairs weekly magazines in the United States. Henry Luce has been called one of the 7 most prestigious men in modern America. Henry's special affection for China has made him see China as his favorite country besides the United States. So after Time magazine was founded, he has been paying attention to and reporting on China. Henry firmly believed that only the American way could help China achieve wealth and strength and democracy. Therefore, during the war, Henry sent more than a dozen American war correspondents to the Chinese front and was the first to report extensively in Time on the tragic struggle of the National Army and to praise the leader of the Republic of China, Chiang Kai-shek. It can be said that Time's coverage spans the entire life of Chiang Kai-shek, spanning nearly 30 years. From unifying China's military valves and his leadership of the war to his marriage and his state of mind in his later years, all have been displayed in front of the world by Time. Commander-in-Chief Chiang Kai-shek was first featured on the cover of Time on April 4, 1927, and Henry chose a frontal portrait sketch. The bold Chiang Kai-shek has a cool expression and a stern gaze, with an intimidating aura. The simple caption at the bottom of the cover reads, Commander-in-Chief Chiang Kai-shek, and the subheading inside reads, The Conqueror. At that time, Chiang was the commander of the Northern Expeditionary Army of the National Revolutionary Army, which had already led the Northern Expeditionary Army to victory. The Time describes in vivid detail the entry of the Conqueror, Chiang Kai-shek, into Shanghai. Last Monday afternoon at about 2 o'clock, a long motorcade drove into Shanghai from the south. On board were 100 heavily armed, tough soldiers, a modern-day bodyguard passe. A man in a completely unadorned coat sat in the third car, a long, thin man, but one who decisively commanded the Southern Army. He was Chiang Kai-shek, the great conqueror and KMT general who had conquered half of China. Soon, Chiang Kai-shek and his entourage and regular guard stopped in front of a building, hung a flag, and the red, white, and blue flag of the national government then flew. Above the flag on a red background was a blue field with a white sun rising above it. On December 1st, 1927, Chiang Kai-shek married Song Mei-ling, and on December 26th, Time reported, Chiang emerged last week as a romantic conqueror of marriage in modern China. On October 26, 1931, a photo of Chiang Kai-shek and his wife Song Mei-ling was published on the cover of Time magazine. Chiang Kai-shek in traditional Chinese dress and Song Mei-ling in a fashionable dress are smiling. There is no doubt that their fate is being closely linked to the future fate of China, which is exactly why Time is focusing on him. On December 11, 1933, Chiang Kai-shek, riding a tall horse with a standard military salute, was once again on the cover of Time. At that time, the Japanese army had invaded the northeast and then tried to get its hands on northern China. At that time, Chiang, who had just finished the Great War in the Central Plains, was faced with the situation of how to destroy the communist forces and delay a full-scale war against Japan. On February 24, 1936, Chiang Kai-shek was on the cover of Time together with the Emperor of Japan, the pseudo-Emperor of Manchuria, Puyi, and Stalin, and it was clear that these four men were the key to how the Far East crisis would be resolved. On November 9th of the same year, Chiang Kai-shek, holding a saber in his hand, was again on the cover of Time magazine. At this time, Chiang was preparing to exterminate the remnants of the communist forces that had fled to northern Shaanxi, hoping to finish the job in one go. Unfortunately, this great task of destroying the Communist Party was later spoiled by the mutiny staged by the sinners of the ages, Zhang Xueliang. On January 3, 1938, Chiang Kai-shek and Song Mei-ling were both featured on the cover of Time for the second time. At that time, under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, China's war against Japan was in full swing, and the determination of the first leader and his wife to fight against the war inspired the nation, so Time named them as the Windy Couple among the people of the year. After the outbreak of Pearl Harbor, the United States declared war on Japan, and the international situation developed in China's favor. On June 1, 1942, Generalissimo Chiang was once again on the cover of Time. He looked spirited and very confident. In fact, he predicted long before the war that the shift in the international situation would be crucial to China's fate. Pearl Harbor proved his prediction, and with the support of the US and Britain, Generalissimo Chiang was honored to be the Commander-in-Chief of the Allied China Theater. In order to gain more support from the United States, Song Mei-ling went to the United States to lobby and literally got China more solid American aid. As a result, Madame Chiang was selected for the cover of Time on March 1st, 1943. The words below the photo said something to the effect that she and China know what patience means. After the victory of the war, Generalissimo Chiang was featured on the cover of Time for the 8th time, with a textual note labelled, "Leader of the Victorious China." Just from the repeated attention and introduction to Chiang Kai-shek by Time magazine, it is not difficult to see who actually led China's war of resistance back then. During the nationalist-communist civil war, Generalissimo Chiang appeared on the cover of Time for the 9th time on December 6, 1948. His worried expression reflects the hardships of the times. Perhaps, at this time, Chiang deeply appreciated what a mistake it was to fail to completely destroy the communists back then. On April 18, 1955, Generalissimo Chiang, who led the retreat of the national government to Taiwan, appeared on the cover of Time for the last time. In the background of the photo is a soldier of the Nationalist Army looking lonely at the sea, with the communist-stolen mainland on the other side. Chiang is full of vicissitudes, seemingly resigned and full of fervent hope for the return. That's the end of our story. We would like to express the following thoughts to those who are now living peacefully on the island of Taiwan. Take a look at the mainland, which has been ruined by the communists for 72 years, and consider the bandit propaganda. No one stays on the island of Taiwan, and Hong Kong, which has been flattened by the communist iron fist in just 1 year. It is not easy to come by. This is not easy, but it cannot be separated from Mr. Chiang Kai-shek, the former president of the Republic of China, who opposed the Communist Party all his life. No matter what hardships your forefathers went through, from which families have gone through, and even paid with their lives, we still hope that you will not look back and unite to fight against the CCP bandits. Imagine if Chiang had not moved the entire Republic of China to Taiwan and brought in a strong national army. How likely would our treasure island, the home of your dreams, Taiwan, not be a second Hong Kong or Hainan today? That's all for this episode. Please like and subscribe to our channel and share with your friends. See you next time.